Hey, my name is Ali Bay, and today I'm going to show you the chemistry behind elephant toothpaste and how the experiment works. First, you need to know what is elephant toothpaste. Elephant toothpaste is a foamy substance caused by the rapid decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, using potassium iodine or yeast and warm water as a catalyst. The chemical equation for this is 2H2O2 aqueous formed into 2H2O liquid and O2 gas. A catalyst speeds up this reaction. The oxygen combined with the dish soap is what creates the massive amount of foam. So now that we know the background of this experiment, let's take a look at what it's supposed to look like. For this experiment, you're going to need a 12-ounce plastic bottle, 3% hydrogen peroxide, dish soap, dry yeast, warm water, and optional, any color of food coloring. You're going to start this experiment by dumping in roughly around 2 inches of 3% hydrogen peroxide into your 12-ounce plastic bottle. Next is you're going to add a couple squirts of any kind of dish soap into the hydrogen peroxide. Then you're going to mix it, but don't add too many bubbles because you want to see the bubbles later on in the reaction. Next, you're going to want to add any color of food dye into the hydrogen peroxide soap mix. And you're going to want to pour it onto the sides. After adding your food dye into the bottle, you're going to prepare your yeast solution. Now you're going to mix your yeast and your hot water. You're going to want to mix it until it's nice and smooth and that there's no clumps in it. Lastly, you're going to mix the two together, the hydrogen peroxide and the dish soap and the yeast and hot water. So after we conducted this reaction, let's see how it occurred. The reaction occurs when the yeast acts as a catalyst and separates from the oxygen to the hydrogen peroxide. The foam is a result of the oxygen-filled bubbles from the hydrogen peroxide being broken into water, H2O, and oxygen, O2. Now let's go over the standards that occurred in this experiment. First, Chem 2.2, analyze chemical reactions in terms of quantities, product formation, and energy. Sodium iodine reacts with hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, by removing an oxygen atom. This essentially produces water and oxygen gas, H2O2 plus O2. The oxygen gas produced gets trapped in the soap, which produces a big ball of foam. The reaction produces oxygen gas, water, and iodine. The next standard is Chem 2.2.2, analyze the evidence of a chemical change. As we know, a chemical change has taken place. But how do we know that? One way that we know this is because the bubbles are formed. These bubbles indicate that the hydrogen peroxide has been broken apart into water and oxygen. Another reason that we know a chemical change has occurred is because there was a change in temperature. And lastly, the last standard, Chem 1.2.1, compare the relative strengths of ionic, covalent, and metallic bonds. In this experiment, both bonds are polar covalent. Hydrogen peroxide breaks down into water and oxygen gas without the yeast. However, the yeast is a catalyst and speeds up the reaction. The hydrogen peroxide is breaking down into water and oxygen gas. The oxygen gas causes the toothpaste to foam.